topic, manifoldness of Northeast Indian literature, especially in relation to nature. So before I go into this topic, first of all, I want to give a brief introduction about how nature became the topic of literary subjects in writing, especially. So when we try to understand the literature from different aspects, we all know that whatever we are learning today or whatever the different things we are looking at regarding the world or regarding the societies and everything, all these things are from the Eurocentric perspective because of the Western philosophy and because of the Western writings. So naturally, the literature also, the perception of the literature also started to be viewed from the Western man and Western man point of view only. So when we try to look into European literature, which was started as being addressed as English literature previously, and also even today English literature. So we all know that this type of literature in the beginning days was attributed only to some of the aristocratic families, commanders, the soldiers, the heroic figures, and some of the elements in the cosmos. And later, because of different changes in the society, it slowly shifted to different genres and different elements. But here, the life of the common man, the view of the common man, the thoughts of the common man, it's hardly difficult to find the place of the common man in these literary texts. So every literary text, each and every literary text, that means almost all the writers, they have given prominence to write about the lives of the aristocratic people or the heroic figures in the wars, the battles, the battlegrounds, and so on. It's only because of different changes like industrial revolution and because of Darwinism in the European society and many other different phenomena has changed. They have changed the perspective of the literature. And especially because of all these changes, there are many people, there are many writers who came forward to include different other elements, including the lives of the common man, the opinions of the common man, the views of the common man, how the common man place is being destined in the societies. So this is a common view of the literary text and common understanding of the literary text. For example, if we take the example of the Industrial Revolution, how it changed the society, how the impact of the industries and the factories has been on the lives of the people, the division of the society into classes, upper classes and the lower classes. And in this scenario, we can see the theory of the Marxism, the capitalism, haves and the have-nots. So all these different elements, we can say all these different elements that are shaping the mindset of the man, thought process of the man. And in this process, again, we can see the age of Romanticism. We all know that Romanticism is the age, especially in which man started using his imaginations and the man started re-examining his relationship with nature. So trying to be far away from the disturbed reality, trying to be far away from the horrible realities in the societies, maybe because of social and economic disparities, maybe because of the civil wars, maybe because of the political unrest, maybe because of these class systems in the society, man started to rethink of the different world in his imagination. And he started to find some comfort and solace in the company of the nature. So then we can see how nature got a prominent place in literary texts. So here nature, the presentation of the nature in the literary text is not only just because patronizing its beauty or worshipping the beauty of the nature, but this representation of nature in the literary text has so many connotations and so many dimensions in order to understand the exact relationship between the nature and the man. So it's not only in the European literature, but in many other contexts, in many other literatures. Maybe it is the American literature, or maybe it is Australian literature, maybe it is African literature, or else Indian literature. In each and every literatures, we can find this prominent place for nature being given by the writers in different aspects. So here I took this Northeast Indian literature, especially to present some of the writers, how they depicted the nature as an important element in their lives, and also what is their bond with the nature, and how do this nature helps them to establish that sense of belongingness towards the landscapes or towards their own places. So this is what I want to present right now. And now I want to share my this PPT. Just give me a second. Please, may I know whether my screen is visible to everyone? Hello.
Yes, ma'am, your screen is visible.
Okay, thank you. So my title is Nature Speaks, Manifoldness of Northeast Indian Literature. So here nature speaks. Yes, nature speaks. So there is a lot of bonding and a deep relationship between human beings and the nature. So if the man is able to listen to the nature, he can find many things in the nature. In fact, nature is the source of life. Without the nature, there is no survival of the human beings. So here, before I start this, especially the writings from the Northeast Indian literature, I want to give some glimpses about what is nature exactly. So I started with the line, it is the most powerful realm of magic and spirituality on earth. Yes, it is a realm of magic and spirituality on earth. Definitely nature is a magic. So though the man, in the name of modernization and civilization, trying to destroy the nature, it keeps on healing itself. It has the power of self-healing. And if the nature doesn't possess that power of self-healing, the survival of the man is highly impossible on this planet. And here we can see what is the power of nature in the words of Emerson, a prominent writer from the American literature, in his book Nature. He says that nature, in the common sense, refers to essences unchanged by man: space, the air, the river, the leaf. So that means these are the things which are, or essences, which cannot be changed by man, which are space, the air, the river, and the leaf. They cannot be changed by man, as if he is changing everything on this planet in the name of civilization and urbanization. So nature is the ultimate power, and we, the human beings, are dependent on this nature. And also, he says, in the process of nature, a wild delight runs through the man despite of real sorrows. In fact, there are many writers in literature who takes refuge in nature in order to get away from the real life sorrows, from the pain in the real life, from the burdens in the real life. For example, if you take the example of Keats, the nature poet, all his poems were very much closely associated to the nature, whether they are the odes of so many other poems. And if we know the life of the Keats, he has lived for a very short time. Even in that short time, he was able to produce such a beautiful poetry which are related to nature, especially different elements in nature. Because this man, at that very young age, he discovered that he can find solace only in the nature. So he observed each and every minute element in the nature, and he produced such a beautiful poetry. So this fact cannot be denied, that this nature, it's a wild delight. It gives delight, and it gives some comfort and solace for us in order to get deviate from these real life burdens and the sorrows. And also, again, from the lines of Emerson, we can see all the parts incessantly work into each other's hands for the profit of man. The wind sows the seed, the sun evaporates the sea, the wind blows the vapor into the field, the ice on the other side of the planet condenses rain on this, the rain feeds the plant feeds the animal, and thus the endless circulations of the divine charity nourishes man. So in these lines, he simply depicts what is the work of the nature and how each and every element in the nature works for the profit of man, works for the survival of the man. And these lines makes us everyone to question ourselves and in turn, what are we doing for the nature? So again, it gives the answer that without the nature, there is no survival for the human being. So it is the necessary element to understand the significance and the vitality of the nature in the lives of the man. And coming to the region of Northeast India. Of course, Northeast India is a region which is a place for beautiful images. Whatever the region is, natural imagery in almost all the literary works can help to envision more sustainable forms of human environmental reaction. The most important thing we need in this dystopian society is human environmental interaction. So there is a need for human beings to interact with the environment, to interact with the nature, to interact with the natural elements to find out his place on this planet. So the depiction of the nature in the literary works and the research prospect of such kind of works helps to promote environmental awareness and activism among the learners and also among the readers. And also it helps the readers to acquire that sense of place and connection to the environment. In this modern civilization, where everyone is moving from one place to another place and moving far away from their own native places, definitely there is a need for sense of belongingness to their place of origin. And that comes to us, and we can learn such things only when we are close to the nature and when we promote ecological awareness and responsibility. So it is a responsibility of everyone to be aware of these necessities and the promotion of ecological awareness and conserving the nature and protecting the nature. And especially there are some literary works in Northeast India which generally depicts these diverse aspects of nature and its natural elements, which are presumed to be the identity of the region. These writers from Northeast India, they try to find out their identity only by depending upon the nature and the nature places from the places of their origin. So it's quite natural to them, and it is their efforts to portray all these things and those beautiful images of nature, not only just as a description of the beautiful scenic images, but as their identity, as their places of identity, their identity as the human beings, their identity as the people who belong to those places. So that is the way in which we have to understand each and every literary text that depicts the nature. So before that, in order to understand these natural images and the relationship between the writers and the description they have provided in their works regarding their places, regarding the different natural things, especially in the Northeast region, it is definitely a requirement to understand, first of all, the geography of the location. And here, this Northeast Indian region is basically termed as Indian Eastern Himalayan region because it is closely associated with the Himalayan mountain regions. And it is described as the region which covers almost 200 kilometers of common border with the countries Bhutan, Bangladesh, China, Myanmar, and Nepal. So as these countries have a borderline with the northeast region of India, it is understood that definitely there is a cultural impact of all these countries on the Northeast Indian region. And the entire region of this part is known for its pristine imagery, that means beautiful imagery of the magnificent mountains, the hills, the beautiful river valleys, and also various wildlife sanctuaries, like which are popular, the Kaziranga National Park, Manas National Park in Assam, and Balpakram in Meghalaya, and Intaki in Nagaland, and not only these, but so many, which gives a shelter and which provides a healthy care for different species of animals in all these wildlife sanctuaries. And also it is known for its ecological biodiversity. That means number of species. We can find number of species, maybe in species of plants, maybe species of animals, whatnot. And it is a responsibility to protect this ecological biodiversity, because without this biodiversity, we can't find the balance of nature. And this is the reason why most of the writers, they focus on depict the charmingness of the natural beauty of this particular region, because it is the home for gorgeous landscapes from the Himalayas to the lush valleys, which have become the source of inspiration for the writers. So writers, being the writers, naturally they imagine a lot. So with their imagination, which is added with this natural beauty of the Himalayan ranges and the natural beauty of the mountains, hills, and the rivers, they cannot come out of this source of inspiration. So this became the source of inspiration for many writers from Northeast India to depict and to portray their natural landscapes in their writings even more beautifully. And here, relationship between land and people is the most recurring theme in almost all the literary works of the writers from this region. So the relationship between land and the people. So nature cannot be separated from the land in which the people are living, and in turn, the people who live in these places, they cannot separate themselves from the nature and the land. And here, again, apart from these landscapes, mountains, river valleys, and so on, there is one more interesting thing, that is the association of the lives of the people with the river Brahmaputra. In the histories, we have learned about different civilizations, like Mesopotamian civilization, Indus Valley civilization, Egyptian civilization, and also Yellow River civilization. All these ancient civilizations, which are the foundations for the modern civilizations, they have formed based on the rivers only. If you take the Mesopotamian civilization, we can see that that civilization was formed and established on the Tigris River Valley. And the Egyptian civilization was formed on the valley of Indus River, sorry, not Indus, Nile River. And Yellow River civilization we can see in China. And Indus Valley civilization we can see from based on the river Indus. So river is a source of life. River is the source of life. Most of the civilizations were started only because of these rivers. So these rivers, they are the source of life, which helps to start agriculture for trading purposes and also for the survival. So here, similarly, in the Northeast region, the river Brahmaputra is also such kind of a mighty river without which we can hardly find any literary work from this region. So the river Brahmaputra is the source of life for this entire region. So the prominent writers like Mamangdai, Temsilao, and Jahnavi Barwa, not only this, but many other writers, they have depicted this river in their writings. So this river spans around China, India, and Bangladesh, which is the supporting system for agriculture, biodiversity, and also hydroelectric power. So we can find the references of this river in folklore, mythology, historical writings of the region. So we can say that this Brahmaputra holds an immense cultural and literary significance in the entire literature of Northeast India. Apart from this geographical, a brief introduction of geography of the region. And now I want to give you a brief history of Northeast India, without which it's highly impossible to understand each and every literary text, because a writer cannot escape from his milieu in his writings. So in order to understand the writings of any writer, it is necessary to understand his milieu and also a brief history of that particular writer and also the region. So this Northeast India region lies on the crossroads between India and Southeast Asia. And we all know that this region is known as 7 states, which we call as 7 sisters and so on. And Sikkim is the 8th state, which has joined in India in 1975. Till then, it was a separate entity. Only in 1975, it has joined India, and it became the 8th state in 2002, joining the group of these 7 states and becoming a part of Northeast India. So this Sikkim is called as brother state of these 7 sister states, the other 7 sister states. And why these states are called as 7 sisters means they share the borders with each other. These states, they share the borders with each other. So that is the reason why these states were called as 7 states. And this Sikkim is separated from the Northeast region with a narrow corridor, which we call it as Siliguri corridor of West Bengal. And also in general terms, it is known as bottleneck region, which separates this Northeast India from the rest of the India. And the earliest settlers of this region belongs to Austroasiatic languages. And later, Tibeto-Burmese people from China settled in this region. So because these are all the neighboring countries of this region, so we can see the people coming from these countries and being settled in this region in the period in which there were no specific borders, the political borders which we can see today on the map of India. And among all these states, Assam was the main states in the history, because from this Assam only, all of the other states were got divided in the later years. And Assam, with its former ancient name known as Kamarupa, is the first historical kingdom in this region. And Ahom's dynasty is the dynasty which ruled this Assam for many years until the British advent of this region. And Manipur and Tripura remained as the princely states under British rule. And Manipur is an independent kingdom once ruled by Meitei dynasty and became a complete political state in 1975. And Tripura, it was ruled by Manikya dynasty with an Indo-Mongolian origin, dating back to the period of 1432. And other states which are once a part of undivided Assam got separated from this Assam and formed into independent states in 1972. And the remaining state, Nagaland, became a state in 1963. And even before these states were formed, the state of Arunachal Pradesh, once upon a time, was formed as NEFA. It was called as NEFA, Northeastern Frontier Agency. And this region also witnessed the colonial impact, which is evident in the development of tea estates by the British in the state of Assam. So with the advent of the British kingdom, the British people into this region, first time these people, they have witnessed completely an entire civilization, completely different lifestyle. They were introduced to the European style of living, because these British people, they discovered the tea in this region and they encouraged the plantations and they cultivated the tea, and this tea has been imported to the European countries. And naturally, these tea plantations made the people to be introduced to the European lifestyle and European lifestyle of living. And this region boasts a multitude of indigenous languages and tribal communities. Apart from these ancient kingdoms like Ahoms or Meitei dynasties or whoever they are, and apart from the British advent, the British ruling and British people in this region, the influence of the British rule in this region, there is also the other side in which we can see the indigenous languages and the tribal communities. So these indigenous languages of the tribal communities, they are known for the significance of the oral storytelling and folklore. Naturally, folklore and the oral stories telling, they give the information about the origin of the cultures, origin of the places, because these indigenous people are termed as the first people of the land. So definitely there are also some writers who wrote about these folklore and who promoted these oral stories in their writing, and who gave the written form for all these oral traditions in their writings, so that their origins may not be vanished away because of just oral forms. And before the advent of the colonial rule, these tribal communities, they are closely associated with nature, depending on the mountains, landscapes, rivers of their living. And from this scenario, we can understand that nature cannot be separated from the lives of the people. It is an inseparable entity. It's an inseparable entity from the lives of the people. The same we can see even in this northeast part of India. And all these elements, they form a dominant themes and the background sources for the works of this region in various forms. And definitely we can see how these writers present their deep associations with their landscapes and with the great symbolism of each and every natural element, and at the same time they present their lamentation for the degradation of nature due to the urbanization. So it's not only simply the presentation of natural beauty of the region, but also their lamentation, the pain of the loss of culture, destruction of the nature because of this modernization and urbanization. In order to understand the significance of nature, here again, I have taken the lines from the poem Auguries of Innocence written by William Blake. So he says that to see a world in a grain of sand and a heaven in wild flower, hold infinity in the palm of your hand and eternity in an hour. So these four marvelous lines gives a deep insight about the power of nature and about the relationship between the nature and the man. So each and everything, each and every minute thing in the nature is a very, very valuable entity. So he says that to see the world in a grain of sand, even in a grain of sand also, we can see a beautiful world. We can see the power of nature. We can see the beauty of nature. And we can find heaven even in the beauty of the wild flowers. So with all these simple natural elements, we can hold infinity in our hands. So as a whole, this means seeing or experiencing the extraordinary in the ordinary things and experiencing the infinite with the finite. So that means the nature. We cannot escape from the nature. We cannot move far away from the nature. It is only our negligence which is making us to just overlook all these different elements in the nature. So these lines, they insist on the vastness and the wonder of the universe by looking closely even at the minutest things. So the purity and the quality of the observer influences his capacity to understand the principles of natural law within the finite. So this is what we can see how the writers from Northeast India, they apply in their writings, the purity and the quality of the observer. So these writers, being the observers of the nature in their region, with pure hearts, they just look at the nature and they mesmerize the nature and they wonder at the beauty of the nature. And they depict the same with an entity of love and charm, so that the others also can understand about the power and immense relationship of nature with the human beings. And Thoreau, an American poet, he stresses in his popular work Walden that there is a need to get back to nature. So in this disturbed world, in these dystopian societies, the societies which are being torn because of war and many other disturbances. So it is necessary to everyone to get back to the nature, to find some solution, to have some comfort, and to find some solace. So it has the power not only to for all these things, but also to promote environmental awareness and activism. And so writers from Northeast India, in order to establish their connection with this region, they delve deep into the landscapes of their origin, oral cultures, etc., and they portray them in their writings, trying to bring out the hidden aspects, trying to bring out the unknown things, unknown facts of their region and cultures to the rest of the world, and also representing their region through their works in the mainstream literary platforms. So here I have taken some of the literary works as a source in order to examine how nature depicted very widely and deeply. My first writer here is Mamangdai from the state of Arunachal Pradesh. So she was not only a writer but also a civil servant and also a journalist, and also she worked for some wildlife forums. His wonderful and beautiful work, Legends of Pensum, a collection of short stories. It deals with the legends of the tribe known as Adi, the origin tribe of the state of Arunachal Pradesh. This tribe belongs to this Siang Valley in the state of Arunachal Pradesh and Tibet. This Siang Valley is the birthplace of even the writer Mamangdai. It is a blend of both myth and history of the tribes, which is intertwined with the lives of the people in the village. With her descriptive ability, that beautifully portrays scenic images of the green mountains, flowing rivers, the gardens, and so on. Very minute which are possible only with very minute observations, detailed observations, and concentrating even in the tiniest things of the nature. So while reading these stories with these beautiful descriptions, they appear to be so refreshing and lively in the imaginations of the readers. So that's why Mamangdai became a popular writer, because only for her minutest descriptions and wonderful descriptions of these natural elements. The word pensa means in between, which suggests middle or middle ground. So according to the legends in these cultures, the origin of the pensa, which means in between. So this means here in between place. It symbolizes the place between the myth and reality of the other people, and also it is it can be considered as a transition phase between the traditional and the modern ways of their life. Naturally, the indigenous people or the tribal people, they struggle between these traditional and modern ways of their life. For survival, they have to accept the modern ways of life. At the same time, they cannot forget, or they cannot just simply leave their traditional ways of life. So this struggle, we can see this struggle, which is clearly depicted in this legends of Pensum in the form of the stories. So her description of these stories, they make the reader to feel transported to that particular place, Siang Valley. In such a way, she brought that place very lively in her writing, so that the reader can easily imagine, and he can feel being transported to this particular place, which is the birthplace of the writer. So these are the people, they believe in animistic faith. So animistic faith means accepting the nature, the natural elements and everything in the nature as equal with the human beings. So worshipping each and every element in the nature, giving value to each and every element in the nature, and nothing is very less than the human beings. So this animistic faith asserts that every part of the nature in this universe, including plants, animals, whatever they are, it consists of some spirit or soul. With this spirit of soul, they guide the people, they guide the human beings, and they guide them how to live. So this belief made these people to coexist with the natural world by interacting with each and every element in the nature. And these are the wonderful lines from this collection. In dreams, my people say, they see the rain mother sitting on the treetops, laughing in the mist. Her silver ornaments clink as she rides the wind, brandishing her sword every time she twirls her skirt. The storm clouds edged with black rush up to cover her. So here, by personifying, by giving personification and personifying each and every natural element, these writers, like Mamangdai, they worship the nature, they value the nature, and they bring back all those natural elements to be alive images in their writings. And again, in one of the stories from this collection, where a boy was suddenly has fallen from the sky and accepted by one family. In that story, there is these lines which gives description of the color green. So here, if you read these lines, we can see how the green color is described in such a way that green symbolizes the nature. And without this green, without that nature, we cannot survive and there is no world. The green wall of trees, bamboo, green waterfall, the sprayed his cheek, and so on, the lines and so on. So the color green always suited him. So here we can understand this color green is nothing but a representative of nature. Nature always suits, calms, and consoles the people. And also, it is the source for escape and for being solitude. So we can find some solitude only in the company of the nature. So in order to insist on this significance of nature, Mamangdai, she described this color of green in these beautiful words. And the other important element in this collection is about the arrival of the firearms of the region and the young mothers becoming widows. In the other stories of these legends of Pensum, she describes how the young mothers are becoming widows. The hunting, of course, the hunting took a modernistic phase, entered modernistic phase with the arrival of the Englishman, with the arrival of the Westerners. So they were introduced with the firearms from those people. And these firearms, instead of helping them to hunt the animals or to hunt the other things, they are killing their own people. So this story depicts how many young mothers are becoming widows because of these firearms which are being used for hunting. And because they don't know the proper usage of these firearms, how they are killing their own men. Some things are beyond recall and such things happen all the time. It is better to be ready. So these lines, which helps us to realize the fact that it is better to be ready for everything. So that means from these lines, Mamangdai wants to say that this region is ready to accept the change. Whatever happens, whether it is good or bad, the people believe from their legends, from their age-old traditions, they believe that some things they happen beyond recall. So we, the human beings, cannot do or cannot find the answer for that. So we have to get ready to accept all these new changes in the society. So not only these, that there are many stories in this work which signifies the conflict between the new world and also the old world, and also how only very few of them accept the change regarding the old ways with their memory. And another beautiful book is River Poems by Mamangdai, which explores the themes of nature, culture, and identity, and also the relationship between the people and the rivers. As we already discussed, the river is the living entity and the source of life. So in these poems, each and every poem, they depict the importance of the river and the life stories that are associated with the river, used as a backdrop to explore the traditions, belief systems, and so on. And the other one, Small Towns and the River, from this collection, they reflect the inner thoughts of the writer. Small towns and the river, how these small towns, being associated with the river, they are transforming into a different state. So how the villages are turning into towns and the towns are turning into cities and moving away from the native cultures and the nature. So she expresses her pain, she expresses her worry, how these people, how these places are losing their natural beauty because of this modernization and urbanization. And the other, the repetition of the line in these poems, that river has a soul, makes the readers to understand the beautiful relationship between the people and the river. And see here, these lines, small towns always remind me of death. My hometown lies calmly amidst the trees. It is always the same in summer or winter, with the dust flying or the wind howling down the gorge. So small towns always remind me of death. The villages which have transformed into towns, they remind these writer about the death of the life, the death of the nature, the death of the natural beauty, the death of the cultures, the death of the traditions, and so on. And also, in contrast to these small towns, she remembers her hometown, Siang Valley, which remains calm because it was still far away from the modernization and the urbanization. So most of the works Mamang Dai deals with this concern of her birthplace, which means the land of the dawn-lit mountains in Sanskrit. And the other most prominent writer is Temsila Au from the state of Nagaland. Again, she deals with the wide variety of things regarding her culture, how the Naga people, the origins of the Naga people, the origins of the Naga culture, and so on through her writings. So here I took a simple work, Labanam of For My Head is a collection of short stories. In this collection, the first story, Labanam for My Head, it depicts the ordinary mundane activities of man and woman. Especially in these stories, we can see in this story, first story, we can see an obsession of a woman, Lentina, with laburnum flowers. So here, why Temsula Au gave such a beautiful description to these flowers? Means here she establishes a beautiful relationship between this lady Lentina and also the flowers which are in bright yellow color that are hanging on the walls of a cemetery. This woman who was so obsessed by this beauty of the flowers, she struggles a lot, she plans a lot to have these flowers on her grave after her death. And what happens in order to attain her goal forms the plot of the story. Because in her view, tree remains alive forever. Again, we can see the power of the nature. See, these lines, the laburnum tree on the other hand is alive and unchanging in its seasonal cycles. It is resplendent in May, by summer, and the stacks holding its yellow blossom turns into brown pods and so on. So this beautiful description of this simple flower, simple plant, laburnum flower, it brings out this writer's relationship with the nature, writer's imagination, and writer's love for the nature, writer's love towards the nature. So not just the beauty of the flowers. So here she symbolizes these laburnum flowers in this writing, especially. The character Lentina, why she was so obsessed with these flowers means it is not just because of their beauty, but because these flowers, they lie down towards the planet, towards the land, towards the ground, which denotes the humbleness of these flowers for the Mother Earth. So these are the laburnum flowers which always they lie down towards the ground as a site of respect for the Mother Earth. So that means here, Temsila Au, with this character Lentina, she expresses her feelings, what we can learn from the nature. She expresses her thoughts, how we can learn from the nature, how we can learn this humbleness, not only this humbleness, but many other things from each and every element of the nature. So how to live, how to be a human being, each and everything we can learn from the natural elements like these flowers, plants, mountains, rivers, and so on. And another writer, Hambarua. He was the prominent writer from the state of Assam. He promoted Assamese culture and heritage through his writings, and he was also regarded as one of the pioneers of modern literary movement in Assam. His only work written in English, most of his writings were written in Assamese language, and the only work written in English language is The Red River and the Blue Hill. The Red River indicates the river of Brahmaputra, and the Blue Hill indicates the pristine mountain peaks, which takes the blue color because of the sun rays. And this title really depicts what is Assam, the natural beauty of the Assam, not only about Assam, but the other cultures, the traditions of the other people of Northeast India in this particular work. And here we can see how this writer beautifully describes about the beauty of the Assam by saying that hills are the ornaments of Assam and as are the stars in a peacock's feather. So he compares hills to the stars in a peacock's feather. So, and also it gives a description of the beautiful Brahmaputra valley surrounded and dotted with hills on all sides. And he gives some of the names of the hills and the subranges of the Himalayas and so on. This description makes the reader to wonder at the beauty of these mountains, hills, the river, valleys, not only in the state of Assam, but present in each and every part of Northeast India. So how they perceive the region is the most important thing. And this is a common thing which we can find in each and every writing from the region of Northeast India. They consider this region as a beautiful homeland. So they dwell deep into the cultural histories to present the enchanting topography of the region. And the other writer which I have taken is Jahnavi Barua from the same state, Assam, who is known for his acclaimed collection of short stories, Next Door. Rebirth, her popular work Rebirth, though it is a fictional work, though it deals with a woman who struggles in her life because of a disturbed relationship with her husband and so on, it is a powerful bonding between a mother and an unborn child. But apart from this, in this writing, we can also see the glimpses of the beauty of the Assam, nature depiction, and the river of Brahmaputra. So why I've taken this rebirth means, though the writers, they write of a different element, though they write of some fictional stories involving most of the human characters, but still here and there, they give some descriptions, they give some references to the natural elements of their region. So here we can see how she described the view of the Brahmaputra at some instant in the novel. At the top of the picture, the sky ever changing with every season hangs over the line of hills that border the river. In the middle of the frame is the Brahmaputra, energy. It is impossible to tear one's eyes away from it. In the foreground, the lower reaches of the hill we stand on fall gently away to the river bank. Through the thick vegetation covered, patches of silver and sand are visible. So these beautiful lines gives complete picture, a mesmerizing picture about the view of the river Brahmaputra from the place from which she stands. The narrator stands and views the river. So apart from this, not only this means that not only these few writers, but there are many notable writers like Isrin Kait, Tilottama Mishra, Sefali Debarma, etc., who represented the region of Northeast India with various themes, along with natural depictions, with powerful imaginations, with powerful portrayals of the nature, by saying through which they say that they are inseparable from their places, from their home places. So that's how these writers depict the nature in their writings. But here, these depiction of the natural elements, beauty of the nature of the region in these writings, it's not simply the description of the nature, but underneath they are exhibiting their resilience, perseverance, and their struggle for reclaiming their identity. They struggle for holding back to their places holding back their cultures. We can find all these things that are concerned and associated with the presentation of the nature and the depiction of the nature in these writings. So here there are some critical theories which we can apply to analyze each and every text. So when it comes to the nature reading, the first of all comes to eco-criticism. Through this eco-criticism, or by applying this eco-criticism, we can understand the relationship between literature and environment. We can analyze the relationship between literature and environment, why these writers are depicting environment in their writings. And also this theory helps us to look at the ecological issues. What are the different ecological issues, and what are the different factors that are becoming the reason for the destruction of the nature, and trying to find out the solutions. So naturally, this study promotes environmental awareness, and it questions the morality of anthropocentrism, because ecocentrism is always against the anthropocentrism. Ecocentrism gives importance to the nature, study the nature and environment. At the same time, anthropocentrism, in contrast, makes man as the center and nature as the periphery. As man is the center, he can use the nature to his own needs by destroying, by wiping out the nature and everything. So that's why ecocentrism is always against anthropocentrism, and it questions the morality of anthropocentrism by promoting environmental ethics. And the next thing is cultural studies. We can also apply the theory of cultural studies, which examines how power structures, ideologies, and social identities are represented and reinforced in literature. Because the power structures, which is, which comes from the Western philosophy, how these power structures, they design the social identities in a different perspective, thus separating the people from the nature, from their places of origin, and how the cultures to which these people belong, how they be separated because of these power structures and the ideologies. And also the cultural studies deals with the impact of modernity on the laws of culture and nature. The other one is tribal studies, which focus on the tribal or indigenous communities. And again, this comes under fourth wall literature, especially deals with the tribal writings and their involvement. Tribal writings means the writings of those people who are the first people, or the first, the origin people of the land. Their involvement with the nature, social structures, customs, and governing system, and so on. And also as an interdisciplinary approach, this includes anthropology. With the help of anthropology, sociology, and history, we can examine these tribal studies. And ecofeminism, feminism and ecology, relationship between women and nature. How these women and nature are vulnerable in this dominant patriarchal society. How, because of this feminine entity, how nature also can be personified into feminine entity. So analyzes the relationship between the humans in the natural world, and how this vulnerability in view of the patriarchy associated with civilization and modernism, and in turn, how this ecology and feminism, they fight in order to seek respect for both of them. It gives a call for egalitarian society in which there would be no any dominant group. And postmodernism, it subverts and deconstructs the established norms of the society. So here, established norms of the society means they are not the traditional norms or the tribal norms, but here this postmodernism deals with the Western societies, the established norms of the Western societies. So which sees these Eastern countries as the Occidents, and Orientalism, which believe in the theory of the Orientalism. So this modernism, it completely denies and rejects the theory of Orientalism, and it explores the themes of alienation and fragmentation of reality in this world of, or in this phase of modernization and urbanization. It's a reaction against the values and ideas of modernism. Whatever we call today that as the values of modernism or modernity or civilization. So this postmodernism definitely, it questions such ideas of modernism. So naturally, these writings, which depict the nature, which gives importance to the nature, natural element, natural entities, tribal cultures, and so on, can be studied by applying this postmodernism. And also, it emphasizes on individualism and the inner world of the characters being solitude. So, in the Western philosophy, we can't find this inner world of the characters. But here in the postmodernism, importance is given to each and every individual entity, the relationship of an individual. And the other one, manifest destiny, which was first coined by John O'Sullivan. Actually, this theory of manifest destiny is applicable to the United States. The United States and its expansion towards the state of the Texas, which was the land of the native people in the history, and how it acquired this land by using its power in the name of development, in the name of modernization. So here, this theory can be applied here for these texts as the modernization, how the modernization, civilization, urbanization, technology, and development taking hold of these natural images, taking hold of all these natural lands, and which are wiping out the purity and the cleanliness of these peoples. So this theory of manifest destiny, which exercises the power in the name of modernity, can be applied in order to understand really what is happening in these places of this Northeast India, and how the writers depict all these things, everything in their writings. So here we can see how this Northeast India, especially the literature of Northeast India, is very much far away when it is compared to the mainstream of Indian literature. So this was a picture taken from an article, Academic Centrarchy, a Political System of Governing Education and Technology. So here we can see the periphery and the center. When Indian literature, mainstream Indian literature can be considered as center, this Northeast Indian literature is always away from the center, assuming the place of periphery. And here we can see the tendency of the center towards the periphery. Here, tendency to feel superior to the periphery, tendency to ignore the periphery's needs, tendency to lobby against the periphery, tendency to discriminate against the periphery, and not to take periphery seriously. So this is what actually happened towards the Northeast India, and how the entire region was totally neglected by the rulers of the mainland India. And what we can see in the periphery, that means the Northeast India, is because of this negligence, inability to speak the center's language,